What's up, y'all? It's your boy DJ. Today's video is pretty straightforward. Gonna be talking about the books that helped me get back into reading. Context, background, whatever you want to call it. I got back into reading around last summer, 2025. My wife's a big reader. She reads a lot of romance, dramas, stuff like that. And she was just like, "Oh, let's go to the bookstore." And I'm there and browsing and stuff like that. And I'm just like, "Oh, well, I don't know what I would have want to read and stuff." And I was kind of just thumbing through my phone, just looking for book recommendations. But something popped up on YouTube. I was just scrolling through there, and it was the movie trailer teaser or whatever for The Long Walk. And I was just like, "Oh, that sounds really interesting." It's like based on a novel or something. And I go and look up the book and find it in the store. And yeah, Long Walk by Stephen King. This is the book that got me back into reading, man. And I must say, it's a solid pick, very solid pick. He's writing this as Richard Bachman, and apparently, according to Stephen King lore, this is one of the first novels he wrote when he was like 19 or very young, like a college student or something. But yeah, so essentially in this story, it's kind of a dystopian setting in Maine, of course, if you're familiar with Stephen King's work. But basically, a group of boys, I think about 100 boys, get drafted from across the country via lottery to participate in this event called the Long Walk. The rules are pretty simple. You walk, and last man standing gets a prize of whatever he wants, right? The catch is you have to maintain a specific pace of how fast you're actually walking, and you can't stop. You can't go below that pace. And there's a bunch of other rules for the Long Walk as well. But once you have like 3 strikes, essentially, you know, you kick the bucket, and they will disqualify you from the competition. And it's very dark in that way. I really appreciate how he took a simple concept like this and made it absolutely terrifying. You kind of get into the boys' heads and see what their underlying desires and motives are for wanting to participate in the walk, even without going too deep into each and individual character. You know that they're there for a reason, just like everyone else. And even though they're all competing against each other, there's like this camaraderie that begins to brew amongst them, even though that in the back of their minds they have to remember um, that their success is incumbent on someone else's loss, and that's a loss of their life essentially, which is kind of wicked in a way. If you're familiar with Hunger Games, it's right up your alley. This is what gravitated me towards this book in the first place after seeing that trailer, and I wanted to be one of those. I read the book before I saw the movie. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be one of those people. That's kind of what type of reader I was in high school too, and growing up as a kid. And actually, the director of Hunger Games directed this movie adaptation as well. And I think he did a really good job. It's one of my better movies. I don't think I'd rewatch it unless there was like a director's cut or something. I'm pretty sure there is on Blu-ray or something. But yeah, great concept. Really get into the mind of what it's like, because you think, oh, just walk in a straight line. Well, what about an incline? What about a decline? What about the care of your feet? What about things you got to do when you got to go number 2 or something like that? What are you supposed to do in a situation like that where you just can't stop? You know what I'm saying? And he dives into all these ideas of things that can go wrong when you just walk forward, no looking back. And there's a lot of layers to unpack here in regards to that as well. But I'll leave it up to you to kind of seek those out. I can't say nothing bad about this. This is really like one of those perfect books to me. And I think this is deserving of a reread. But since it's been the past year or so and it's still fresh in my mind, I'll probably revisit it next year or something, but we'll see. Next up, we have Ring by Koji Suzuki. And I got this really pretty sprayed edge from the Barnes & Noble edition, and this just looked beautiful to me, so I just had to grab it. I hadn't actually seen the movie because growing up, I was very afraid of horror movies. Nowadays, I'm just like, oh, well, it's just a movie. And I made a deal to myself last year to watch more horror movie content, because there was a lot of movies being announced that looked really cool, but I felt like I was too scared to watch it. So from my people out there who say they don't like horror and just kind of tease the idea of wanting to delve into that world, just go ahead and do it. Just find a movie and just watch it. be scared, cry, cover your eyes. It's all a part of the experience, and that's what makes watching horror movies so fun for me, because you never know what's going to happen, and that's kind of the point. You're supposed to have those type of reactions when you watch something like that. Anyway, just getting back to The Ring. This is a very popular story, and I didn't know that there was an actual book that the movie was based on. But like most great things are, there is a source material as a book first. Essentially, we have this guy who's like a journalist. He's essentially working for this magazine newspaper, and he comes in contact with these people who are dying in mysterious circumstances. They're like really young people suffering from cardiac arrest. So he does some investigation further, and he finds out that these group of kids met up at this resort, and they watched this cursed videotape, and eventually they died as a result of watching it. And if you're familiar with the lore and stuff, or have seen the movie and different adaptations of Ring or Ringu, then you already know exactly what he gets into regarding that. But essentially, our main character, protagonist, journalist here, is going through the steps and processes of trying to figure out what the tape symbolizes, what the purpose of it is, how and why it's getting these people off. And it's a really good high stakes story. This is a solid book. It helped me get back into reading because I could not put this down. I ate this up in like less than a week, dog. This was so damn good. I can't recommend this highly enough. I would definitely say if I had to be stranded on a deserted island, this is one of the books that probably come home with me. You know what I'm saying? We'll go to the island, I should say. But yeah, beautiful book. Crazy plot twist. Decent world too. This does take place in Japan, around the mid 90s, I'm guessing. But you can kind of just pick up those vibes, and it's very spooky, very creepy, and dialogue is solid, and it always feels like something's watching you in a way. When you're reading this page by page, you'll definitely enjoy it if you're wanting to get into horror. And this is one of the first horror novels I did pick up and get into. So standards kind of high at that point. I'm definitely looking forward to reading more horror after the fact. One of the other books that helped me get back into reading was Kindred by Octavia Butler. So this is a story about a young Black woman by the name of Dana who gets teleported back in time, and she ends up in this forest. And she sees this kid drowning in the river, and she goes to save his life. And she resuscitates him, and it's all cool and stuff until his mom comes in and she's like, "Get away from my son!" And then his dad shows up with a rifle and points it at her, and she's like, "Yo, what's going on?" And she gets teleported back. She's talking to her man and stuff, and he's just like, "Yo, what happened? You good?" He was just like, "Nah, I was just saved this kid. I don't know what happened." And then some time passes, and she ends up back in the woods again, and she eventually puts two and two together and realizes that she's being teleported back to antebellum slavery times in Maryland. And she draws more connections as well as to figuring out why she keeps getting brought back and why she continues to be put in situations to save this boy's life every single time. It's got one of the craziest plot twists I've read. And one thing I love about Octavia Butler is she writes so well, but in a way that's super accessible yet so interesting. It's like she's able to captivate you, and you can read through this pretty quickly. You can obviously go back and scan a couple of pieces of information just to reread and get back up to speed on certain things. But other than that, this is so beautifully written, and it kind of blows my mind in a sense that once you kind of figure out what the reason she gets getting teleported back for, you kind of just are waiting for a very that moment to occur, and it's just very agonizing. Kind of makes you sit back and question, what would you do in that situation? You know what I'm saying? Is it selfish to kind of just let things happen and let fate run its course, or are you going to be that angel to change? And that's essentially what the question is asking in this book. I can't recommend this enough either. And lastly, we got If Beale Street Could Talk by James Baldwin. Now, this was my first James Baldwin book ever. Familiar with him as a figure and his role in the civil rights movement and his role as an intellectual during the time, but I had never actually opened up any of his books and dove into them for myself personally. This is actually a newer edition I just picked up a couple of weeks ago, actually, because the original one I had, which was the older printing, I let my friend borrow it and it's beat to hell. So I just kind of put it to the side because it's got a lot of bad water damage And I kind of wanted this as a shelf trophy anyway, because this is such a beautiful book, and so are the other books in the set as well. I'll talk about those at a later time, of course. And one of the things that made me a fan of James Baldwin is that he's not afraid to just let you feel everything that these characters are feeling. Like, his writing style is so beautiful. There are moments in here where I was like, man, I'm feeling this right now. It's very gut wrenching and heart wrenching and whatever the word is, right? Because you're sitting there watching Tish, who's our FMC, try so hard to kind of keep herself composed and hold herself together during these very trying times. And you really get to see what it means to be a family, and examples of what is not to be a family, right? You get questions of what love actually is and what it actually looks like when it's under scrutinization and pressure. Have this lingering, looming shade of institutional racism that's, playing a major part in your relationship dynamics with your family and your partner, and you're just trying to make it to the next day, because these are ultimately just regular people at the end of the day. And the way he conveys that is some of the most beautiful writing ever. Like, this is a good starting point from James Baldwin, in my opinion. But yeah, like I said, these are just those 4 books that helped me get back into reading. I actually had another one, real quick, if you don't mind. I can just wrap it back. It's my channel, right? There actually is a 5th book that helped me get back into reading as well, and I don't have the physical copy, so I'll just put a picture of it right here. But that's New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. Now, this is a nonfiction piece, but it's essentially diving into the exploitation and the abuse of the clauses in the 13th Amendment, which abolish slavery, yet reserve those punishments for those who find themselves in bondage and incarceration due to criminal offenses. And she argues that this is a rise of the new Jim Crow, going as far as detailing the rise of the prison industrial complex, the Fugitive Slave Act, of course, being one of the precursors to all this, as well as the convict leasing system. And she even transitions into Nixon's war on drugs and how that further perpetuated this narrative that allowed for these laws and legislations to be passed to disproportionately incarcerate, Black people and other marginalized populations, and sort of a way to fuel that machine that we know as the prison industrial complex. This is an amazing read. I definitely recommend that everyone read it at some point in time. It's extremely enlightening, and it kind of will pull back the curtain on a lot of things and preconceived notions that we have about the prison system and how we feel about the people who fall into that category of vulnerable populations, I should say. But yeah, those are my 5 books that helped me get back into reading. If y'all read any of these, I'd love to talk to you guys about them down in the comments if you get a chance. And yeah, I just plan on doing more content like this in the near future. I got a couple things lined up, of course. Y'all follow me on Instagram if you want to keep up. I got my Goodreads link down there in the bio as well, description, I should say. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you want to see going forward. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to talk to y'all later. Peace.